Hello and welcome to another video of our series where we audit websites around the world and rate them from good to bad depending on a various different categories of optimization, whether for UI, UX, social proof, performance, titles, everything. We audit everything. So Sunshine Coast Daily is local to us as a business. We're based in the Sunshine Coast, also down in Melbourne, but Sunshine Coast for this. Sunshine Coast Daily is part of Newscorp, a very large news company here in Australia. They may be worldwide. I probably should do some research on that, but very big company nonetheless. They've got a lot of different websites, and you can see a list in their Sitemap somewhere of all the different locations they've got. So pretty much for every location in Australia, they've got a newspaper and a website related to that. But because they're all pretty much the exact same website, they all apply in the exact same way. So to kick things off, we'll look at the user interface, how it's designed, how it looks, where we see improvements that could be made. There's obviously a lot of psychology in news and media and how the user engages with news and how they want and expect a paper or news website to be formatted. So you'll notice on nearly every news website, it's the exact same thing. So we won't judge them too much on that as we don't have that psychology data and that A/B data to determine why it is the way it is, as all news sites seem to be the same. It may just be one company that decides, hey, everyone's doing it, we may as well jump on the bandwagon and do it the way they've done it, and there actually be no data behind it at all. However, they're all ugly, so we won't judge too greatly on that. But for starters, their menu isn't too bad. It is actually quite, bland. You'd expect some sort of drop down for this amount of news, this amount of categories around news. You'd expect for some sort of drop down to be existing there. They've obviously done a great job of their ad and their ad placements. Being a news company, that they rely on that right now. No one's really buying papers or paper copies, and there's a huge push for the environment to end not doing paper copies. So there's a huge push for ads around the news sector, and obviously that's going to have prime positions on their website. I have seen where they do a whole page takeover, where either side is an ad as well. So we're currently looking at a lot of different news stories, some of which are paid ads within the content. So you'll see a content ad here or a better ad there, but they'll also sneak in content ads throughout their content as well. I'm not sure if they do it on their homepage or just on inner pages, but they certainly do have them. I can't see any here. But they've got their news. So they're categorized their news via their little colors. So they're blue, green, orange, purple, and yellow, and orange, pink, sorry. And you can see that they've sort of got that little icon here everywhere. Now, inspecting that, I did notice before it was a PNG. It looks like they have got SVG versions, which is fantastic, especially if it's being shown in that many places. It's great to have SVG formats there as it changes sizes throughout the website. So if it didn't change, if it wasn't an SVG, you'd have a new PNG file for each one of these different sizes, and because there's so many, that it is definitely ideal to have it in that way. So you can see orange is sport, blue is the subscriber exclusives, which means I cannot click on these. It takes you to a please pay, payment gateway, or a content wall. So unfortunately, this is a way for news companies to now charge for their services and their news. So I don't have a subscription. I did discover a way to bypass this, and although it is pretty well done, a little bit of JavaScript knowledge and you can bypass that. So they do need to look at their security and how people can sort of exploit the fact that they're using JavaScript to detect that. So I can pretty much pause JavaScript or apply a cookie in place of it and bypass all that and access it all. So I'm not going to show it here because that's, I'm not going to encourage exploiting a system. However, knowing that it is a security vulnerability and there is one there, that's something that they really should look into. Having their little colors is nice. They do have a lot of internal linking. Their internal linking doesn't seem to be done all that great. They do seem to miss out on a lot of title tags in their links, which is a disadvantage. They don't have things seem to be linked correctly. H2 tags are above H3 tags, and they've got breadcrumbs throughout the site. That is good. However, their font size I'm not sure on. Their image sizes I'm not too sure on either, and they're also not responsive images, so they don't collapse in, they don't collapse out. They have done a great job of adding titles and alt tags. It does look like it's just adding the main tag though. That is fine still, as long as they are applying it. However, it is not a friendly title at all whatsoever. So that's something that they could look to implement. I know it is hard because of duplicate content and adding multiple images to a directory where that may have a file named a very similar thing. However, they are using date and month formats to sub their folders, so that's something that they can actually take advantage of, unless someone tried to upload a photo of the exact same name within the exact same day. Very, very unlikely, but possible. But then they could add sort of tests before upload to determine whether that could happen or not. But otherwise, I won't judge too badly on their UI because everyone seems to do it the same. In an article, it looks like this. They've got their title, their who, their when, their social sharing to help generate social signals, their commenting system, a video, which, like most news websites, is very annoying. They auto start and you cannot stop auto start. It will just continue to play, and then you have to scroll up to the top and pause it. And then when you scroll down again, it will start again. That is infuriating. I cannot stand it. I'll mute on any news site so that doesn't happen, and I'd say a lot of people do. So although it might get better impressions, which they can sell ads on, it is actually negative to the user experience. The user is not happy with how that is being done, and I spoke to a couple of people about that, about how you pause it and then it auto starts again. It's something that stops me or deters me from actually watching those videos now as a consequence of that happening. So their news articles aren't too bad. They've got Instagram, they've got Twitter integrations, which is fantastic. Any news site should have that, and a commenting system, which doesn't really get used, but occasionally you'll see the odd comment here and there on normally political. I won't show any political articles on here. However, typically you'll find their comments are on their political columns. There are a couple here, 4 comments here, but once again, that's a political council related thing, so we won't look at that. In terms of their sitemap, they do have a couple things that they should look into. Obviously, it's a secured site, HTTPS, but their sitemap link is to a non-secured site. So, a very minor thing, but just add the S. It isn't that hard to add, just to keep the consistency throughout the site that you are a secured site and you want that to happen. And they do seem to be blocking quite a lot of different categories here. They do have a sort of a local business listing service on their website, Find Your Local. It looks like they're blacklisting 2 different folders here. I'm not sure what they are or why they could possibly be blacklisting them. Obviously something that they weren't happy with, or some type of spam that was happening there. And once again, just blocking different pages is never good. They're obviously a Google Media partner, so they have the access of the user to target the user agent Google Media partners. They're blocking or exposing their admin directory, which is never safe nor good. However, it is using Microsoft's login system, which is fairly secure, so they get away with that there. And limiting their crawl. I'm not sure on limiting crawls. I personally wouldn't. Allow search engines to do as they please. I know in certain instances, if on larger sites, you will have instances where the crawl can be delaying the server because it's frantically scrolling through the website consistently and never stopping. So I can understand that. However, upgrading of servers can always make that a little bit better for them. Their 404 page is completely useless. I mean, you typically want your 404 page to look somewhat like the website, or at least be a little bit more useful than what this is. It is what it is. People do land on 404s and they want to be re-engaged with what they're doing. Sometimes it is an accident. In my instances, obviously being a sticky beak, but they should really fix that. Now, in terms of their SEO performance and what they've done, obviously they're a news company. They've got a lot of links. A lot of people talk about them. So it's not surprising that you're seeing really good SEO results here. However, looking at their backlink profile, they seem to have dropped or stopped creating high PR-related content. So those sort of content pieces that would generate high sort of traffic, and they've had a drop in their backlinks, or at least their backlink strategy. So as a content method, I'd probably look at working out what was getting high links, like in here, and continued creating content like this, as long as it's not clickbait material like they were doing for a little while, and most news sites tried to do it because of its growth. And you can see that they've had quite, like most news companies, this isn't just them, like they had a big drop in traffic. People are getting the news from different places now, mostly Facebook. Depending on what you're trying to look for, you'll find it in different places, but mostly you'll find that news comes from Facebook. You'll see a post that interests you, you click it, and that's your source of news, not so much organic search. So people aren't searching actively for things or news and trying to find news articles. They typically have found the news and they're just researching or verifying what they've just read. And showing the same news article typically isn't the best for the user, so Google's naturally going to start ranking them downwards and pushing it a little bit less. Even looking in the Australian database, it seems to have dropped quite a bit and significantly. There is a small increase here, but that will drop. And this could have also been in the introduction of paywalls. So where they've got content that is paywalled, even if you find that article in Google, you are still paywalled. You enter it, you will not be able to read the article. You got to bounce from that article, which is a paid user experience. So it's possible that this is where they introduced paywall, and it's dropped as a result. With SEMrush, it tells a very similar story. Big drop, small increase here. Well, it's not a small increase. I mean, it's 70,000 people or whatnot, or 60,000 new changes. So in the keywords, it sort of tells a very similar story again. The keywords have dropped. This is a result of Google's sort of changing the way people are searching, understanding how people are searching for news, and reacting accordingly. There is a few things that they can do to improve this, though, significantly and get it close to where they were. So one of those is letting people access their first article for free if it's come from Google Organic or Bing Organic or Yahoo Organic or wherever they've come from organically, letting them view that first article and then paywalling them from there on. And having better call to actions throughout the content to say, here's another article you might be interested in. Getting them to try and engage with more content to try and get them to stay on the site and obviously become a paying member. So that's something that they should definitely look into. In terms of their site, though, and what their titles are, their descriptions are, they're fairly useless. They're not very informative. They've got a lot of weird content pieces, old content pieces that really shouldn't be on the internet anymore, that they could really drop or at least put as a lower priority in their sitemap. Putting it as a lower priority can definitely lower its importance, and capitalizing certain words can definitely increase their popularity here too. Now, something that they've not taken advantage of is Google's structured data. So structured data can allow them to identify to search engines such as Google that they are a source of news, they're a news company, that they're an organization, this is their logo, this is their branding, this is what sort of content pieces they're advertising. Here's a site, here's our breadcrumbs list, here's an article that we've written that can help identify, hey, this article is about this topic, this article says this, without Google trying to, I've been paywalled. So I've read my, okay, I can read this one. So it can identify to search engines, this is an article, this is what content is in the article, and it knows that this title contains this content. Currently, search engines are guessing that without that structured data. And where you come down here and you've now got all this, it's still including that unless you use structured data and tell it, hey, this is the last sort of line of our article. This is all the content within it. This is the title. This is who the author was. This is the date published. That structured data is so large and such a widely accepted thing of Google that they're pushing so heavily in that. So if I Google Seth MacFarlane, you'll see a few news pieces. These top stories. Now, to get in these top stories, you need to be providing valid schema and valid markup. If you're not providing that markup, you will not get one of these places. Now, unfortunately, they're not going to get one of these places because they don't have that structured data. But if I click on this and search for the schema, you can see it's got really valid schema. And in comparison to this no schema found, I can scan this article. It'll show us all the schema that this page has and why it's been able to get to that structured data snippet up the top of the Google News and allows them to get free traffic. They're getting the first position, they're getting top of Google without having to build links or build high quality content. Google's providing this as a service to news companies and news companies aren't taking advantage of it. Now, something that isn't commonly known, that Google now have a structured schema for paywalled content. So it allows news companies that do have those paywall content to tell Google, hey, we've got this news article that you need to be paid to get onto. This helps them identify, okay, if this bounce rate is lower, if people are leaving this article, why is this, why is that? You're all of a sudden telling a search engine, okay, this is the potential reason why people are leaving so quick. This is, and it's very easy to implement. If they don't take advantage of it, Google do not know that you've got paywall, and it just looks like you're blocking content or blocking people from viewing that content. So make sure as a news company, you are implementing this feature to allow them to know that. And this, obviously the article schema can come in handy as well. And that's what we're talking about here once this finishes here. So they've identified, hey, we've got a news article. This is the news article. This is the content within the news article. So all the content of the news article, it is accessible for free, which is this paywall that I was talking of. So it's true. If it's false, then it's not. You have to pay for it. You have to pay for it. And then that obviously tells Google. It is telling us that the keywords are these. It's telling us really informative, helpful information. The Google image that was shown to us before was this image here. The URL of the article, the name of the article, who the publisher was. It tells you everything that you need to know. Now that's really important information. It helps Google identify who or what is on this page. Now they're an organization. This is the organization details, so forth. It helps them do that. Now, Sunshine Coast Daily doesn't do this. It's something that they should really implement, and it will improve their SEO and their visibility by such a large percentage. It's massive. So article schema, breadcrumbs, organization, where's organization? Also logo acts as organization in this instance. Carousel, they could definitely implement. So carousel is this, and carousel works for the article type, which we were just looking at. The paywalled content, and then speakable. So speakable is in beta mode, but you can identify to the search engine that this content can be spoken aloud. So it'll tell Alexa, Google Home, it'll tell all those sort of voice activated devices that it can read this article out flawlessly. And without doing that, if you don't identify to the search engine that this is the content via schema, that it can start reading out from news. So it would read news, Seth MacFarlane's massive 1 million donation, and then it would start reading all the content. And when it finishes, it would then read Australia Zoo, donations, editor's pick, Seth MacFarlane, recommended stories through. So it would then continue reading. You obviously don't want that. So Speakable could definitely be something that they can implement. Obviously, the search box is important because when you do a search within one of these, so hi, you've got a query, so search, keyword, you can identify to Google that's the keyword, and you can enter this schema as well. So there's a few there that they can take advantage of, and it massively improve their SEO and their traffic as a result. That's something that is very strongly advised. And obviously just making better use of their titles and descriptions. And I'm not a fan of their mobile. So where they're doing this mobile as well, they're actually not informing the search engine that they've got a mobile version of an article. So you click on this article, you're in the mobile version. However, you're not telling Google that this is a copy of this page. So in this instance, they are. I did check one before and they weren't. So this is telling them that this is the official article, Daily Mercury. I'm not sure why that comes up, considering I'm on the Sunshine Coast Daily. So obviously they've got some content issues there, where I'm viewing content from a completely different news source on the website, and that could answer why they've got such a large index of pages. There's a few issues there with their SEO. Their performance is another big story. Their images could be massively optimized using the latest WebP format, which is compatible with Google Chrome, Safari, and Firefox, and hopefully soon Microsoft's Edge browser, and a lot of other browsers as well that are coming up and updating, supporting this new WebP format, and it's massively improving the performance of images on both desktop and mobile devices with no quality loss whatsoever. So something that should definitely be implemented on nearly every site. ImageKit is a great service. If you're a low or smaller site, you can get ImageKit for free. This isn't a paid promotion, but it's for free for smaller sites. Larger sites would obviously need to pay, but the value and advantages are most definitely there. So definitely consider that for your site. In terms of Google PageSpeed Insights, their mobile site obviously redirects to mobile. I'm not a big fan of this. It's not hard to make a mobile responsive website. We have a great article, I'll link it below, on mobile responsive websites, but horrendously poor speed. Before loading, it's 4.5 seconds on a mobile, and the main optimizations are defer images. If the image is not loaded above the fold, so above the fold is the content seen here, all these images here should be lazy loaded. So they're not loaded yet. When the browser starts to scroll or the user starts to scroll, these images start to load as needed, not just because they want to. As they're needed, they should start to load. That's a very big impact there that they could definitely change. Scaling of images. If an image is 2000 by 2000, don't load it here. Load a small version or a thumbnailed version of the image here instead of the proper sized image. That's a pretty big one. Render blocking can be pretty difficult, especially on a site of this scale that has heaps of scripts and heaps of CSS. However, it's something that could definitely be worked on. WebP format, that's something we just spoke of. And their first byte. I'm not sure if they're hosting in Australia or Sydney-based servers. They definitely should be if that's their target demographic. Targeting a local server to where your target demographic is very important. It can reduce that time. Now, looking at GT metrics, it's important to note this time doesn't mean anything. So because they're a news company, they've obviously got a lot of news partners, advertising partners, things and scripts that they need to load to help serve ads and remarket to people. Obviously, they need to sell a service. So you'll find that this time is quite slow and this size is quite large. However, the true story is actually in the timings. We go into a better video of this. I'll link that in the description as well. It's this contentful paint that matters. And 1.2 seconds is actually really good. So 1.2 seconds, the contentful paint is pretty good for this test. However, that doesn't tell the whole story. There's still a lot of things that they could improve for bandwidth usage, for the user's usage. Obviously, people don't want to download 4 meg just to download the web or homepage of a website. So lazy loading, optimizing of images and assets such as CSS and JavaScript can help lower your bandwidth usage whilst also helping the user download the files and site quicker. They are using a CDN, which is fantastic. It looks like an internal one that they've used and Newscorp use. That's fine as long as it's, leverage browser caching. It's not a CDN if you're not leveraging the caching mechanisms of a CDN. So globally, they should be looking at that and working out how that they can improve that. Optimization of images, we've already spoken of, but once again, it's a huge impactor there. Redirects of URLs. This is common with JavaScript trackers, such as your remarketing tools, your ad servers, and so forth. They'll typically do this. It's fine. It doesn't cause too much latency or lag during the site's loading time, as they're normally deferred or loaded after the page content has loaded. So performance-wise, not too bad. They do definitely have some things that they can improve on. Localizing assets such as fonts is important, not double loading fonts like they seem to be doing here. Optimizing of CSS, JavaScript, loading more SVGs, and less PNGs, JPEGs, and properly loading sized images is really important for them, and taking advantage of those new formats. In terms of their technology, it's pretty standard. A lot of ad networks, a lot of remarketing tools, Criteo, Google remarketing, Facebook audiences. Criteo is a massive remarketing tool, very powerful in the e-commerce space as well. And obviously a lot of their advertising products and marketing products throughout here. Their payment gateways, Google Analytics. A lot of scripts, though, are being in use here. They really need to understand, like, both Hotjar and Crazy Frog, effectively the exact same tool, but both in use. Pick one, load one, no need to load two. A/B testing, I mean, Optimizely is a fantastic tool. However, they're loading Google Tag Manager. Why not take advantage of Google's optimized service and not have to load yet another script to try and, I don't have a reason for them for that. Google Maps, that's fine. ReCAPTCHA, that's for this, making sure that they're not getting botted. Information technology, obviously there's some more scripts there. Now, important, not so important. Moment JavaScript is fantastic for serving out times and formats, but however, it's a JavaScript file that really doesn't need to be in use for 98% of sites. Good understanding of PHP or a good understanding of vanilla JavaScript, you should really not need to add yet another script for serving time formats. Bootstrap, fantastic that they're using it. However, they've got an M dot directory for their mobile experience. So they seem to be using it, but yet redirecting mobile traffic anyway. Doesn't quite make sense there. They've got the standard technologies you'd expect to see. So that's good from their perspective. They're using the latest servers. They're using the latest push methods. That's great. Their engineers seem to know what they're doing. However, they seem to be lacking in their code. Inline CSS, JavaScript files everywhere. JavaScript files should be either in the header or the footer, and that's fine, but they've got HTML throughout, so they really need to work on that. I've spoken about it in a few of our other videos and audits. That's something that's a big impactor in performance and something that they should really impact on or act on right now, opposed to in the future. So they're using time ago, but yet they're also using moment JavaScript. They're both the same script. So yeah, they seem to be adding scripts but not removing scripts. They seem to be having multiple developers work on the site but not look at what the other developers have done. They're not using mobile responsive images. There's a lot that could be done, but otherwise not too bad. I'd probably rate them a C+, if anything. It's not perfect in terms of the UI. The performance is quite poor, and they're missing out on such a huge advantage of taking advantage of schema markup, that just those couple of features there can impact their website's performance, SEO value enormously, and obviously that's going to impact their overall business and their revenue and profits, especially that this site is duplicated across hundreds of others. So you can see a list of a couple of them here. News to News, it's effectively the exact same website with a different logo on it, different articles. So if to take advantage and upgrade their web servers, their systems and their technologies could make them not a struggling news source and a news source that has huge value and potential going forward. I'll cut it here. If you did like this video, please leave a comment, like, subscribe. It's enormous value to us. We'll reply to each and every comment. If you do know of a website that you'd like to have audited, whether it's your own business or a business that you do business with, or just one that you think, hey, this is a nice website, let us know in the comments. I'll be sure to have a look, and if it meets our sort of requirements of what we can sort of add value to, we'll most definitely do an audit on it, and I'll obviously reply to you with that in the comments. I'll leave it here for today. Thank you.